But the biggest thing we want people to understand is every business is run by another human being. Most marketers have just forgotten that. And if you have a way to be able to connect, no matter how it is, through LinkedIn audio, through messaging, through doing great content, there's a way to be able to do it.
Welcome to The Business of You, the show that empowers you to put yourself out there and build your personal brand. I'm your host, Michelle Griffin, helping you each week with expert tips, inspiring stories, and personalized coaching so you can master your reputation and build your future, showing up as the brand and business of you. I'm excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. This week, I'm really excited because I am talking to someone who speaks my language. And it's not marketing, it's not branding, it's the language and word of human connection. And when I first came across him on LinkedIn, I just knew I had to get him on the show. So today I want to welcome Joshua B. Lee to the show. How are you today, Joshua?
I'm amazing, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation. Even our
Yay!
pre-conversation was fun.
Oh, absolutely. So Joshua has a really cool way to describe himself, and I think I'm going to let him do it. It's in his headline on LinkedIn if you follow him. And, so Joshua, tell us what your headline says and how we should learn about you.
Been deemed, off of another podcast, some friends of mine, after listening to how I work on LinkedIn, they call me the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn.
Awesome. I think that is the most standout headline you will ever find, which is no pun intended, because that is the name of his company. He is the founder and CEO of Standout Authority, which tell us what Standout Authority does, Joshua.
Michelle, these days, Standout Authority, we work with thought leaders, executives, change makers to be able to be the human algorithm for them and their voice on LinkedIn. So that's really what we actually work on, being able to take over someone's LinkedIn and their entire LinkedIn profile, essence, everything, and actually humanize the way that they are online and help them draw in massive advocates and allow those advocates to become clients.
Oh, I love that. The humanizing is just going to say everything, because I think you say on your website, it's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's H to H. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So tell us how this all started. Give us a little background about you. I know you've been an entrepreneur and a founder and all that for so long. Give us some backstory here.
All right. I'll skip past, being in high school, selling candy out of my locker, all those things. I mean, that's the typical entrepreneur. But about 20, God, it's amazing. It ages you really quickly. About 20 years ago, I started my first company in the online advertising world. And, it's interesting. My wife always laughs because when I tell people the company name, most people, she's like, that really shows your age right there. But the first company, as I talked about with you before, was MySpace, a company that most people forgot about. And, really was kind of blessed and cursed to be able to have them as a first client, just because, they were a huge company. We helped them design some of the first social media ads that a lot of things are based around today. But when you're in your early 20s and being able to do this and making massive amounts of money, as a young guy, guys are stupid. Let's just be honest. A lot of times, especially when we're young. And I went a lot of different directions. The beautiful thing though is throughout that, Michelle, I was able to keep my head on my shoulders for the best part of it and created multiple different companies and everything online. I've probably monetized every acronym you can think of, from CPA, CPL, CPC, CPM, all those things. And throughout that career, I've monetized over $500 million in advertising. And I've actually controlled over 35 trillion online impressions on my own servers. And, the biggest thing that I learned was there's a huge difference in actual traffic and actually true engagement. And that's kind of where really my life switched. When I really understood that, I was actually going down a path in my life, Michelle, where everything was what I was taught as an entrepreneur was to, don't let anyone see a sweat and, own everything and, make money. And it's not about monetizing everything. And that was the biggest thing. I was putting that human side aside. And I created multiple different companies. And at the time, about 8 years ago, I'd say, I reached a point in my life where honestly, I was 45 pounds overweight, never been overweight in my life. My relationships were monetary and I had no vision about where I was going. I just knew where I was at. I knew I had to be able to change because my son was born. And I really went through a shift, and I went through a reset of my life where I did go through a divorce. And I walked away from all of my companies. I shut them down, and I gave the mother of my children, I gave her all the money because she was more concerned about than I. I wanted to really value the time that it would take to be able to go through it. And at 36, I moved back in to my parents' house with a little bit under $1,000 in my name. And honestly, I hadn't worried about money for a long time. And that's kind of where Stand on Authority was born, because I was like, God, I'll be honest, Michelle, when I first started Stand on Authority, met my wife, all these kind of things, I was going to be a life coach. I was going through being able to go through this whole thing. I had a top knot, had my man bun, I wore my mala beads. I was teaching everyone all the things that I had done wrong. And then I realized that wasn't where I needed to be able to go. And that's how Stand on Authority was born. I took the things that I was trying to do on that humanization of helping entrepreneurs, and my knowledge of traffic. And that's kind of where Stand on Authority came from today, to be able to pair the two together.
What a powerful backstory. So you were doing the grind, the successful stuff. And then one day you wake up, you realize, who am I? Where am I? What is this? Right. And your life is in shambles. So what exactly made you realize the humanization was just missing? I mean, like, what was the trigger in the light bulb moment?
I mean, I'll tell you, I still remember the day. I remember my office when I had my son, and I always want to be one of those parents that were home and cognizant, never shut the doors, right? If I couldn't say it in front of my kids, no matter what age, I shouldn't say it at all. And I remember I wanted to be at home. I didn't want to be a dad that was always at work. So I started working at my office, and those office doors were always open. And I remember one day those office doors shut, and for a long time, I remember staring at the wall, and that office not only became a sanctuary, but a coffin for me. That I would just stare at the wall and contemplate if this world was better off without me in it. And a friend of mine came to me. His name was Jesse Elder, and he really gave me the permission to be able to take back my life, and reminded me who I was, what I do, and why so many people cared about me. Because even though I didn't see it, I was able to really connect and be able to see people for who they were. And I was able to make them feel seen. And at that point in time, I realized that's the biggest thing that we were missing. I was missing. And then I wanted to be able to give back to others. I wanted to be able to change this world. Was, if I could see people, what if others could too? And the only way to be able to do that is to be able to really be human with someone and allow them to be heard first. And that's some of the biggest things, and create stopgap as people's patterns in this constant cycle that we're all in. And so that's kind of where Stand on Authority was born. And I kind of went from there.
I can, you speak so vividly of that. I can just picture you in that office / coffin, whatever you just see. And I can see you staring at the wall with your little son on the other side. So yeah, that's powerful. You've got me going. So what a turning point, and we have to go through our stories. Our struggles are our story, but here we are 8 years later talking about it. And that changed everything for you. So you've started Stand on Authority. And back then, did it do exactly what you're doing now? Did it look different? I mean, I know you had humanization at the core, but tell us what it was back then.
I mean, honestly, initially, because of my access to traffic, truly what it was I was kind of going through the whole piece. I figured out the LinkedIn algorithm. And back then, LinkedIn articles were very new. And it was kind of like, it was still that socialization where if other people saw that, and, someone got, lots of engagement on something, you could leverage that. And I mean, that's honestly where it was born was I would work with other entrepreneurs. And I said, hey, look, I'm going to help you create your article, and I'm going to get 10, 20,000 views on it. And then I'm going to understand the knowledge of the human algorithm and really kind of go into it and be like, look, you can be able to take a post on LinkedIn that I can create these 20, 30,000 views. And then you can go on Facebook and go, wow, I just want to reach out and say thank you. It was still started with appreciation, but it wasn't as genuine as it is now, right? I just want to reach out, I do a post. I just want to say thank you to everyone that recently read my article. Wow, I can't believe 30,000 of you read it. But you see how that kind of takes in, because I was already looking at the human algorithm and I didn't realize it, right? And that's where it kind of started. And we were leveraging that because people go, well, wow, he just thanked me, but I didn't read it. And I don't want to be alone, so I better go read it, right? And so that's kind of where it whole started. And then I kind of started shifting and really going, whoa, okay, there's something different here. because everyone's always worried about the Facebook algorithm, the LinkedIn algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, the TikTok algorithm, whatever it is. And those constantly change like every 6 months. But if we can actually truly understand that human algorithm, the one algorithm that really matters, that's something that doesn't change. It just evolves over time very slowly. Then we don't have to learn the next trick, the next hack, whatever it might be that constantly people are trying to play this game. And so really that's kind of where it all started from. And we've really been able to change and shift that, understanding how people act online. A lot of it too started just because I was an only child. So I had to learn how other people connected because I didn't have that built-in relationships.
Another reason your story comes into play now. Wow. So bring us back. Let's talk about LinkedIn real quick. Because I know so many of our listeners are on LinkedIn. Okay. So 2014 LinkedIn looks nothing like 2022 LinkedIn. You know, when Microsoft bought it in 2016, 17, changed hands. And in the last year or two, it's become creator mode too, you know, creator focus. What is it looking like now? And how do we get humanized algorithm? And I mean, how do you do it on LinkedIn now to be
see,
humanized?
Michelle, this is why I was so excited for our podcast, because like getting on, like you were talking, like we speak the same language on the human side, but at the same time, we speak the same language of LinkedIn, because like you're an awesome, you know, advocate for LinkedIn and personality on there, and you've got a massive following. So like, it's great because you know these things. Like I can go on here and be like, did you know that Microsoft purchased? And people are like, no, I didn't know that. So it's fun to be able to kind of go in there, but
yeah, we speak the same language, connection and LinkedIn. Exactly. 2 languages. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why I love that. But, you know, when you talk about the human algorithm and specific with LinkedIn, and look, I'm going to be honest, like this is almost on any platform. I've just really concentrated on, after being everything to everyone, running multiple different companies, you were everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one, right? Like, so I really wanted to be that one person that really shine. Now, the things that I teach and we go through, you can use on any platform. I concentrate on that because it's humanizing your marketing. So on LinkedIn and everything. Well, before I even start that, Michelle, have you seen the movie, The Social Dilemma?
Yes. And it's amazing.
Pretty crazy.
Scary. Yes, it's crazy. Yeah, it's scary.
Crazy, scary. My mom watched it. She's like, I can't believe this happened. I'm like, yeah, I've been watching this happen for over 20 years.
Yes.
But most people don't pay attention. They've been conditioning us. They've been conditioning us to put in this condition of like, comment, share, post, like, comment, share, post. And that's the pattern we're all conditioned in. But anyone that's actually in marketing or, you know, really understands humans is you got to create stopgaps in people's patterns for them to hear you. And so on LinkedIn, on any platform, the way that I look at it is I start with appreciation. You know, pre-COVID, post-COVID, as we're in COVID now, you know, one of the biggest things I learned, Michelle, is the fact that we take little things for granted. Like I took not having to wear a mask all the time, being able to go out with my wife anytime I wanted to. The biggest thing I took for granted was my kids actually going to school, not just the other room. I really didn't appreciate how much it was for them to be able to actually go to school. I mean, like I love my children, but at the same time, I'm just not a good teacher. I just can't do that. And I appreciate the teachers even more. But when we take that same kind of appreciation online, the things we take for granted are someone looking at our profile, engaging on our content, right? We don't take these things for granted. So when you really want to create a stopgap in someone's pattern, especially on LinkedIn, I've always been taught to start with that appreciation, appreciate these little things in life. Someone looks at my profile, someone engages on our content, right? I can reach out and say, hey, Michelle, I saw you looked at my profile. I just want to take 2 seconds out and say thank you. You know, too often we don't appreciate it. I'd love to be able to connect with you and find out what pushed you to check me out. What that's doing is that appreciating someone for something they took for granted and starting a conversation. And so I think that's so powerful when we're going into comparatively to going to, hey, Michelle, I see you're on LinkedIn. Me too. You want to connect? And then they pitch you really quickly, right? So that's the kind of thing that I believe that's really shifted the first step of really getting that algorithm on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And, you know, we're going to talk about this maybe in a little bit, but just a heads up, you know, Joshua and I are beta testers for the social audio on LinkedIn right now. And was that your first room, you and Rachel's first room last week together?
No, we were part of the first group. So
okay. And we've
had it for 5 weeks since it started.
So that was my first time in your room.
Yeah.
And it was nice hour and a half. And a couple things. I remember you saying this thing, and And Rachel, sent me a thing, hey, great to see you here. And right after she did that, she went on and told everyone, look, connect with us. We're here. We want to, and I responded back. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a great host, because so many people, you brought forth, you encouraged them. So many people hold back because they're scared, intimidated, right, whatever. And I love that she took the first step. So hats off. And I'm sure you probably would have done the same thing if you weren't talking. You were talking at the moment, but together you guys speak the same language. So as part of the company. But I was like, that is so interesting, because that's where I find you got to encourage people. And that's why you'll see that in my content a lot. I'm always encouraging, motivating, because, hey, I was on the sidelines too. I mean, we're equipped people, but for some reason it's scary to, especially on LinkedIn, to put ourselves out there. Right. So that's why
that's a way to be able to do it. Right. I mean, we all hate cold calls and hate cold email. I mean, like, I'll be honest, every time my phone rings, I get that half a second pause when I say hello. I'm like, spammer, and I'm hanging up the phone. But I mean, that's the same thing with being online, right? You have to be able to be better. And like, I'd rather look for someone that took an action, right? I'm looking for a trigger point. Triggers on LinkedIn are someone looking at your profile or someone engaging your content. So that's where you can start. The other side of it is, like, I love Sales Navigator. Now, unlike most marketers, they use Sales Navigator just to spam like 1,000 people, hoping for that one person to say yes. And they're like, yeah, I got the first sale, when it, in all actuality, all they did was piss off 999 people, right? There's always a better way to do it. Like the way I do it, I use social listening, right? I'm doing that human thing. Because remember, the reason why they call me the dopamine dealer, right? So it's because when you look at it, I don't care who you are, everyone in this world, no matter where you are in this world, who you are, no matter what platform, we've all been conditioned to look for one thing above all else when we post online. Now, some people say, well, to get clients, advocacy, we all look for those little hits of dopamine we all get when someone likes or comments on our post. I mean, no matter who you are, you post, first, like, someone going to like it? Or did I get an approval? Right? We're looking for those things. So like, I use Sales Navigator because you can actually see, and just in case everyone doesn't know what Sales Navigator is LinkedIn CRM system. I realize I'm talking to you, Michelle, so I just kind of go into my thing, but I'm like, okay, let's pull it back a little bit. But on there as well, too, you can identify your audience, but you can also see who's posted online in the last 30 days, who's active. And then I can actually give those hits of dopamine. I can give first. I can see Michelle posted recently. I can like her post. I can comment on it. And I can reach out and say, hey, Michelle, I saw your recent post on X. Wow, I just want to reach out and say thank you. I really appreciate the content because of X, Y, and Z. It's much more human, and it creates a stopgap. And I don't care if you're, just starting your business or the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. We all want those levels of appreciation. And so that's the best way I've found to be able to start that conversation. And as I always believe, conversations turn into relationships, relationships turn into opportunity.
That sounds like something I would write. Love that. Love that. No, that's one thing I haven't used sales. I've tried it, but I haven't used it because in my mind, I associate it with just salesy, spammy. So love that and I'm a huge social listening is how I used to use polls. I don't really do polls more because they just got to be overwhelming, but I would social listen. And that's what I'm always telling my clients. You got to social listen. So another word we share in common. But that's so good because you want to find active people, and otherwise you're going all over the feed, or you're having to ring someone's bell, which hasn't been working, which no one knows what that means. So you might want to say on LinkedIn recently, there's this little feature, much like YouTube and something, where you hit someone's bell in their profile and you're notified in their feed. Has that been working for you, by the way?
It does. I mean, we do it with some of our clients and go through.
Okay. I think
but
my
not
settings
everyone has it right now. They're still, it's again, one of those things that LinkedIn does. They roll it out very slowly. So you do get a notification every time someone posts or does anything on LinkedIn. I mean, really, I'll be honest, that's for the super fans, right? Like people that want to make sure you do not miss a single post or podcast by Michelle when she's on LinkedIn. You need to make sure you go in there on her profile. There'll be a little bell and you'll make sure you hit that. So those are the biggest things that you want to make sure you do.
Yeah. I mean, they're making it definitely more humanized, right? That's the thing about LinkedIn. I always tell people, look, if you think LinkedIn's about job recruiting and career search, it's some of that, but it's a whole new world too. So, I mean, haven't you found clients that are like, wow, I had no idea LinkedIn was like this. That's the beauty of it, right? Surprise.
Oh, all the time. All the time. I mean, they're like, wait, I thought I just looked for a job there. I'm like, no, it's a place to be able to tell your career journey, right? To be able to tell the story of how you got to where you are today. But unless you're looking for a job, don't use it and even even if you are looking for a job, don't just write it like a resume. There's a much better way to be able to do it and be able to humanize that aspect.
Yeah, I call it the new LinkedIn. I have heard so many people lately and read that, they're dissatisfied with what they're seeing on Instagram because it's fake and, in their eyes, I'm not saying this. And so they come and realize how, humanizing and supportive LinkedIn is. That's why I'm like its biggest fan too, because I see what it does for people as far as opportunity for connection, community, for you can reach out, and if you're hurting or need something, people will rush to you. I mean, where else do you find that? I really don't know any other platform. Do you?
No. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing, like you said, with Microsoft coming in. I mean, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, believes in that. Like, it wasn't something, that was just on LinkedIn. Like, the parent company as well also believes in that and is a big advocate of that. So that's what I'm excited to be able to see where they're going, what they're doing with LinkedIn audio, allowing that humanization, allowing us to be able to hear someone's voice, their tonality, right? This is why people listen to your podcast, because they can not only see you on the video, but also hear you on the podcast as well, too, to be able to hear as humans. We've shifted, Michelle. We've shifted from wanting to be seen to now we want to be heard. And that's the biggest thing. That's where having the social audio component being able to come in is just so much more humanizing. I mean, even when I met my wife, I remember we met at a bar. And the next day I was texting her, and I guess I'm old school or whatever. After a while, I was like, can I just call you? And she was surprised that I just wanted to talk to her because I couldn't read the text. And I mean, that was the whole thing, because I could read a text 1,000 different ways, but if I could hear her voice, I can hear the tonality, I can hear what she's talking about, the inflections in her voice, it allowed me to connect with that better. I have to say, like, I think I'm married today because of it. So.
No, I'm a huge, you and Rachel jumped on Clubhouse last year. I got on in December and started a room in January. So I never left Clubhouse. Speaking of the first social audio, some people came and went, but I stick with it because I didn't care. Like, I was connecting with all these people all over the world, just great people. And we'd go to LinkedIn and so it started there. You guys are still in Clubhouse, right? Still running a room and everything.
We do. I mean, right now I kind of do more like I cast from our LinkedIn audio over there. I mean, I was spending back a year and a half ago, we were spending like 12, 15 hours days. It was crazy. Yeah.
You got in like right when it started, right? Like, you got in early.
December of 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's about, I think I got my little coveted invite right the day after Christmas or something. Yeah. And it was like a madhouse then, right? The fear of FOMO was so real. And then, but I still think it has a place. And, people are going to always be in Clubhouse. The people in LinkedIn audio will be because they're already on the platform. So I'm super excited about social audio. I didn't get to go to the town hall yesterday. So anything new and exciting that you can tell us? I know that was Robert's town hall, not the.
Yeah, LinkedIn, no, we do it with Robert all the time. And I mean, I love Robert Hanna. And I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, being able to co-collaborate. I mean, like, I look forward to you and I being able to run rooms and being able to go through and do this stuff on LinkedIn, because it's different. It's not Clubhouse, right? I mean, Clubhouse is more live audio. LinkedIn audio is more event-based. You want to be able to draw your audience and be able to build an event around it. So, I don't think there's been many changes. I mean, the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is they've opened it up. I mean, originally there was only 200 of us that got access. And then now I think there's 400 of us that have access. They're slowly rolling it out. The biggest thing, what they're going to do, we were talking to our creator manager and LinkedIn team over there. It's going to be a slow rollout. I mean, if anyone thinks they're just going to open it up, we've got a while. And, we can only hope that the rumors that I hear, I do know that it's built on the backside of, if you know anything on Microsoft, it's built on the backside of their Teams platform.
Okay.
So I have to believe there's going to be some cool stuff coming out when they actually really incorporate all that for like groups and things like that, is where I really hope everything's going to be.
Yeah, I'm especially looking for like private stuff for groups, communities. That's going to be huge. Even for companies that want to have just a private, lunch and learn for their company, whatever. So many that
over there too. I just saw like you've got a group growing over. Not trying to. I don't want to say the number because it's close to 1,000. Because by the time this podcast goes live, it'll be well over 1,000 people in there. Yeah. But, I mean, I know you've got a good group going over there too.
Yeah. We started last year as a challenge and it became a community this year. And there's so many people. That's why, you and I are both alike. Like, we got to get the people on LinkedIn because we're here to support. We're here to build community. And this is the place, we want people to be seen, be heard, be valued.
Right.
My thing is everyone has a message and a mission to share and someone wants to hear it. And it just kills me when I see people, are scared, because I was one of those scared to get out consistently. That's what started my whole thing. Because I was like, I'm going to post every single day in 2021. And I did, which was nuts. But anyway, through like back last year, we had like 300 something people in the group, and then it just ballooned. So anyway, so, we're not paid by LinkedIn. We're not like influencers yet on LinkedIn, paid for them, but we're just fans, you and I, because we know the power of connection, human connection and community. And we're in different little segments of what we do, but we both believe in that. And social audio leads the way. And so what I'm doing, I had my first last week, and I'm going to go bi-weekly with my show.
Love it.
And it's going to be either me or I'm interviewing Nick Bennett. I don't know if you know Nick Bennett. Yeah, he's going to be my guest, talking about how he built his brand. And so my premise is this is where you are the show. So we're going to maybe have like a guest speaker, and then we're going to ask a question. You're going to come up. So I'm going to try to, like you guys do, crowd the stage, audience interaction. So you truly will be heard. And we want, like, you are the show. So we need you there. And then Thursday, I'm rolling another one with a friend of mine. She's in Australia. She's like the LinkedIn Global Pages expert, Michelle J. Raymond. If you don't know her yet, you have to meet her. She's amazing. So we're doing a Rise Up to Stand Up. It's kind of like for women by women, just to get women, business owners and things, just kind of niching down so women can have a voice. You're welcome to come too. We're not going to exclude
I'll be there
you.
Support. 100%. And of course, my wife, Rachel Beeley will be there without question.
She's amazing too. The Beeleys are amazing. So So anyway, so I'm going to be doing a weekly show. So
That's great.
I built it in my schedule because I find it, I got to get out there. Like, I'm a people person. I like to talk and just meet people. And that every time I go in one of those rooms, I'm sure you do too, you just meet so many new people. And that's,
it's great. I mean, that's the biggest thing though. I want people to understand, like, it's Clubhouse-esque because it's audio, but it's not Clubhouse. I mean, the thing that everyone needs to think about, like where I talked about earlier, like it's an event, Michelle, on Clubhouse, you can have 100 people on stage, but think about an event. If you were at an event trying to listen to these amazing speakers like Michelle and the people that she's bringing on there, like, you're not going to want to have a crowded stage. And I mean, just like you're trying to do, Michelle, like, you want to be able to have those features. Like, if you have more than, like, even a panel only has like 5 people usually on stage, right? Mm-hmm. So like on an actual live stage. So that's what I want people to think about when we're doing these things. Like, people go, why aren't they bringing more people up? Because that's not this. It's different. It is separate. And there's a way to be able to do that. And the biggest thing I want everyone to realize too is, even though, because I mean, Michelle, I'm sure you hear this all the time, like, oh, LinkedIn's changing and it's not Facebook and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you're correct. It's not Facebook. But the biggest thing we want people to understand is every business is run by another human being. Most marketers have just forgotten that. And if you have a way to be able to connect, no matter how it is, through LinkedIn audio, through messaging, through doing great content, there's a way to be able to do it. And we're all human, and it's okay. Don't be scared to post, put something out there and just allow yourself to shine. And I mean, there's enough of us like Michelle and myself that will stand up and support every single person listening. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. You said it so well. And even LinkedIn is changing. I mean, their whole campaign about I am professional and what it all looks like, we're not the buttoned up place we used to be. They're trying to shed their image too, So the world's changing. We're all changing, LinkedIn changing. And for this is the better. So I am 100% on board with this. So as we kind of wrap up today, can you give us, like, if someone wants to start being more humanizing, where would you take them? What are like the 3 steps you would say to just start, like, especially on LinkedIn? What's your best recommendations right now? First off, again, engage with people that engage with you. Always don't miss that opportunity. This is a stone unturned, right? You want to be able to reach out. But all of this, Michelle, I know you stand for this dramatically as well too. It starts with your personal brand. And if you do not have your personal profile, like, blinged out, rocked out, whatever you want to talk about, like, that needs to shine. It needs to be a career journey. Tell that story. Like, you'll see on mine, like, I have all the way down to when I used to work at Chili's, right? As a server. I want people to understand I didn't wake up one day and become the CEO of Standout Authority. So tell that story, tell that journey, because there's ways to be able to commonize, and connect with people. So those are those things. And then, the last piece, don't overthink your content. Everyone thinks that you have to be able to have this certain kind of content for LinkedIn. And Michelle, I believe in the 10-20-70 method. And I'll try and give this really quickly so we're not going too long into it. but 10% of your content should be about you, about human, right? It's not Facebook. So I don't need to know when your kids are going to school, but I should know that you have them, right? Because everyone connects on a certain different level. You need to be able to have that in your content. 20% of your content needs to be around your company, but not how you can help someone, but how you've helped someone. Like, we don't care about the people like, I can teach you how to make 7 figures. Show me how you've helped someone else, right? And we don't always want to be that person too, always talking about ourselves on that platform. So that's why it's 20%. If I was on there all the time, Michelle, talking like, oh, they'd be like, oh, it's Josh. That dude never shuts up about LinkedIn. I mean, it would be exhausting. There's a lot of people like that. And 70%, and this is the good thing about it, is if you're listening to Michelle's podcast, if you're out there learning, you're gathering so much information. Be the aggregator of value. So 70% of your content, just share the knowledge that you're taking in. It doesn't even have to be yours. In the long run, if you're the person that educates people, even if it's not your content, if you're sharing what you've learned and taken in and giving notes from that, they're going to come to you for the solution. They're going to connect with you and appreciate you for it.
That's so good. I like that breakdown a lot. I've heard like 80-20, but I like the 10% personal, because you're probably like me. People ask, well, how much personal is too personal? And what's personal? What does that mean? Right. And then what's too promotional? So I like how you break that down. And the perfect example is, I don't need to see your kids so much, going off of the school bus, but I want to know you have a kid, because that's a human to human relationship. Just like you can talk on the water cooler at work or whatever, you chit chat about your life, but maybe you don't pull out all the pictures. Someone has kids, and about your workers and your coworkers and all that. So that's a great way to think. And just think of yourself as, chatting with your coworkers back when we had offices and when we went to networking events, right? Whatever you talked about there, that's human interest. And I think that's the biggest thing. We get also, and me included, I'm not saying, we all get a little nervous about online. But then if you just take it back to how is it like at a networking event, at your local chamber of commerce or whatever, and that's all you got to do. Yeah. So just kind of think of it that way. And I always like to say, you're just talking to one person. Pick someone and just like you're talking to them like you would your friend or whomever. So those are great, great, great tips. So before we find out how we can definitely connect and follow you, I ask every guest this. So, and I'm sure yours is going to be great. Do you have a professional, personal mantra saying that can help us in this case, maybe even be more human or something? What would yours be?
My Michelle, it all kind of comes back on how I actually, go through the strategy we use. I mean, like, they're just the same things my mother taught me how to be able to treat other human beings. I'm just doing it online. So mine is be 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. That's it. That's much easier.
That's the definition of what, people use the word authentic a lot and don't really know what that means, and genuine and just real. That's, to me, the definition right there. Absolutely love that. 100% you. Say that again, just so I can.
100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. Because so many people, we've all met them, right? Like, you meet someone that you see them online. You're like, oh wow, this person's. You meet in person, they're totally different people. It's exhausting trying to be 2 different people all the time. Like, if we were 2 different people, we'd have, it's kind of like, having 2 different personalities. We'd be locked up in an insane asylum. We're one person. We live one life. And that's all I'm telling everyone to do, is live that one life. Don't have a work life or a personal life, right? The whole work-life balance, that's what drives people mad half the time too. You don't have 2 different lives. You have one life. So you should always live it that way.
Absolutely love that. So many valuable nuggets that just tap on my heart here. Thank you for that. So I know our listeners here if they're not already following you on LinkedIn or wherever, they got to. So tell us everywhere we need to find you.
Well, Michelle, I always love the fact, because it'll allow you and I to have a better conversation too. I want people to reach out on LinkedIn, send me a personal message and tell me why you listen to Michelle. Because again, if you're listening to Michelle's podcast, you say, oh my God, Josh, I heard you on Michelle's podcast. I love her because of X, Y, and Z. That lets me go back and be able to build a better relationship with you, Michelle, because I can say, hey, Michelle, here's all the cool things, all the amazing people that love you. So honestly, that's the best way for me to be able to connect with people. I love when they share me the stories about the podcast host that I'm on. So I'd love to be able to do that. Of course, if you want to be able to find out the company, you can go to standoutauthority.com as well. But I'd much rather be able to start a conversation with you on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. That's such a great learning lesson. And you have a community too, I believe, right? So
we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyone ever wants to get in that too, again, reach out on LinkedIn. We'll drop you in there. It's amazing to be able to kind of do it. And all it is we all rise up. We all rise up together. I truly believe that. And that's what it's all about.
And in fact, if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking about, getting on LinkedIn for the first time or for a long time or whatever, reach out to me, reach out to Joshua and let us know. And we will definitely give you that virtual high five and help you out. And I have to say, over the weekend, I saw some, and you probably saw them too, some really great posts that went viral that people said, hey, LinkedIn, this is my first time on LinkedIn. I think one guy had like a picture of a cake and it was so cute. And I don't say it happens all the time, but if you say, hey, LinkedIn, this is my first post, don't you agree that people are just going to be extraordinarily encouraging for you?
They have. And that's the whole thing. People go, oh, you can't post it on LinkedIn. Why? Right? Just another human being. It's okay. You're not going in there. This is the whole piece. Like, look, it's been around for 18 years, but there are 2 people joining every second on LinkedIn right now. So, think about that as the platform continues to be able to grow and be able to go in. There's always going to be people across the world, across the globe that just need an appreciation and, welcome into the community.
Absolutely. And you never know who you're going to meet there. I've met some of my best friends on the platform. So definitely get out. And, no, LinkedIn has not paid us for this announcement, but we're just super fans. So anyway, but yeah, definitely reach out to Joshua and follow him. And Rachel too. Rachel is amazing wife, Rachel B. Lee. She is amazing brander. So hats off to both of you. So Joshua, I cannot tell you, thank you again for sharing your insights and your inspiration on human connection and on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Michelle.
I really enjoyed the time with you today.
Absolutely. And I know I'll see you on a LinkedIn event, audio event sometime this week and all around the feed. So, all right, everybody, it has been another informative, inspiring, educational, all the good thing, feel good episode today with Joshua. And if you're not already following him, go and follow him because he will just light up your feed. So thank you guys. Thank you for stopping by again this week. And until next week, keep putting yourself out there. You've got a brand to build, a business to grow, and people to impact. So I'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in. We need more impactful professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders just like you getting out there, sharing your expertise. So if you'd like to know more about how I can help you or your team grow your professional personal brand, please check out yourbrandyourbusiness.com. And until next time, you have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. Now go put yourself out there and watch the business of you grow.